What's going on, guys? How are you? Welcome back. It's your boy Ebot. I hope you guys had a blessed weekend. I had a really bad and difficult one. I was sick throughout the whole weekend, feeling a lot better, but still recovering from the aftermath, right? So to speak. On today's video, I want to talk about a particular topic that no one else is going to do or has really done. But I'm going to talk about it. And the title of the video is Gaming Media Uses Microsoft as Propaganda. Meanwhile, they ignore the real company that's dying, which is Sony. Just like you heard it. It's an absolute fact. Me and our brothers, and my brothers, right? Over at the Unlimited Truth, the Outlaws of Xbox, even the Exile, even though we haven't done it due to the situation with our brother E-Rock. And of course, when I've done We Got Next, because I try to keep it as real as possible, and even the brother New Legal over there at Direct Gaming, and my brother 100 with the Xbox Got No Games podcast, have been saying this for a long time. The media, unless there's no Microsoft news, there's no news to talk about. They don't talk about anything else, but try to ignore all the other things and wipe it under the rug. Everybody's trying to play this doom and gloom bull crap with the Redfall situation, even though we all know that since holiday of 2022 till now, all Xbox game releases that have came out have been completely successful with high scores. Even smaller indie titles like Pentiment. And they've been scored well on Metacritic. Not that Metacritic matters, because it doesn't. Just giving you an example based on the logic of Sony fanboys and some Nintendo fanboys, right? Because of the fact that they base their wealth or their viewership or views on good games based on a Metacritic score, which a Metacritic score is, just to give you an idea, all real gamers judge games based on their own personal experiences. Since the beginning of time, it's nothing new. Real gamers, not fake gamers or casuals for that matter. So, all these games that came out, from Halo Infinite, The Gunk, Forza Horizon 5, Crossfire X, right? Pentiment, now Everlock, right? Ravenlock, the Scorn, High on Life, Hi-Fi Rush, Atomic Heart, even with the controversies, all those games that have came out that are exclusive to the Xbox Game Pass or ecosystem for that matter, right? Have scored fairly well, grounded and done well, right? And then we have this whole situation with Redfall, which we all know. Arcane Studios has never done a open world, untethered co-op campaign and co-op component game. It's the first time that they have had it. On top of that, when Phil did the interview with those people over there at Kind of Shitty Games, right? He explained really well. He explained, clearly that they didn't feel like their messaging to Arcane Studios, the developers themselves, wasn't clear enough, or that they didn't make it clear enough that when they needed more resources or unlimited resources and they came to them, it was just a little over a year ago. It was kind of too late in the life cycle when they asked developers from Rare rather, to help them with the online component, which is why they're having trouble now. Not because they didn't care about helping them. It's just Arcane kind of is probably a developer that's been used to so many years at Bethesda doing things themselves, they didn't really feel the need or probably wanted to ask as professionals that they are, right? Because a lot of their games are mostly critically acclaimed. And again, even the critically acclaimed studios at some point will make a game that may not be as good and get bad press because they're, at the end of the day, human beings. They're not a perfect studio. They're not always going to get every game perfect. That's just not true. And the only people that seem to get a pass with that, and they seem to always get praise with their games, are people like, let's say, I don't know, Rockstar. But that's because they make one game every century at this point, right? Or every decade, rather. Every 10 years, they'll make a new game. So anybody thinking a game in 10 years or every 12 years, of course you're going to make a game good because you have all the time in the world to perfect it, right? But the word on the street is that Arcane Studios was working on Redfall since 2017. This was way before everything with the acquisition and whatnot. And I guess Microsoft told them, go ahead and finish it. That's fine. So, the media's been on top of this, acting like, oh, Microsoft is dying. This is the end. The next game they got to get has to get a 10 out of 10, which is ridiculous because every game that scores differently is not going to determine whether a company is doing well or not, because Microsoft is not a small indie developer. They're a humongous entity in the gaming space that are never going to die out in comparison to the other two competitors, which is Nintendo and Sony. They're a company that the Xbox division alone is now worth over $600 billion. Not my words. You can find this in MD Daily's website. It's all there, right? Even as of 2023 or 22. Okay? And people got some type of, a perception in their head that because a game scored wrong, that means they're going to die. No, that's not how that works. It's like Phil Spencer said in the interview. It comes with the territory. Out of every game you make, whether they score well or not, if you have one that scores bad, that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You got to keep moving forward and concentrating on what you're doing. Keep, reaching for the best quality possible because it comes with the territory. You're not going to always make a great game or a game that's received well, even though it may be a good game, which is the case of Redfall. Because, again, people are mistaking the idea of being glitched or having bugs for it being a bad game. It's two different things. A game can be glitched, have bugs, slowdowns, bump mapping, screen tearing, slow loading, crashes, but it doesn't mean that the game is bad. The game itself, the root and essence of the game, the fundamentals, that doesn't mean that the game is bad. It just means the game has technical issues, which could be annoying if it's overdone. But as you see, Redfall is very divided. Some people are just saying they haven't had no issues, which I've seen myself with my son when they played. I haven't seen them have no issues. And some people are saying they have a multitude of issues. So it seems to be like a very divided situation, which is unfortunate. Because then you can't really tell who's being honest as far as saying, oh, this is all the crashes I'm having, and then who's actually saying the truth that they haven't had none. Because there are people that will lie just to make something look bad because they don't like the company. Because they don't like the fact that it's a Microsoft game. And that's how I feel with most of the media. Because they do things and say things and talk, and when you see their gameplay, that you can tell they're not really invested in the game, and they don't know what they're talking about. Okay? But the media does this because without Microsoft, the media, right, can't survive. Without Microsoft, there's no news. They already stopped and did the blockage with the CMA, with the acquisition of Activision, and as soon as that was announced, it took 2-3 days, and they started with the Xbox got no games, it's dying, and all this other dumb rhetoric stuff, which is just absolutely ludicrous. because Microsoft has been releasing more exclusives since 2022 holiday till now, and that's just a fact. And 2021 even, they have released more exclusives than anyone else, including PlayStation. They may not be all first party, but they are exclusive nonetheless, even with third-party developers, the way that people count third-party releases like the upcoming Final Fantasy 16 on PlayStation. You can't say it's an exclusive like Forspoken when it says only on PlayStation or exclusive on PlayStation, but when it says that for Microsoft and on Xbox, act like, oh no, it's not one of their games. That doesn't matter. It's a third-party exclusive, and you could only play it on an Xbox console or ecosystem, so it's an exclusive. The same thing goes with certain games that release on Game Pass. Because if you can play a game on Game Pass like Plague Tale's Requiem, as opposed to having to pay $70 right off the hip on a PlayStation 5 or 4, right, to play it, then you still have an exclusivity to that game and access exclusivity to that game that the others don't. And then you have a better opportunity to realize, well, do I really think this game is worth my money? Yes or no? And with us, it makes it easy because we have the accessibility of playing the game with no risk, day and date, for example, right? Meanwhile, you got Sony, that all they've been doing is having nothing but no success, shameful comments, dumb, ignorant behavior, and they're acting as if Sony is in a perfect place and like they're okay. But when you look back at it, they're not. They're a dying company. It's only a matter of time. For example, 2 days ago, they just closed down the studio that made Concrete Genie. Right? If Sony knows how to take care and preserve their studio and developers so much, why is it that they closed down? Just like they closed down so many other companies, which I can put in the beginning of this video or at the end of this video, and so you can see for yourself. So many other things have been closed down. Naughty Dog, what are they doing? They still haven't released their multiplayer. It's been 5 years almost, 3 years since Last of Us 2 released. Instead, they're doing TV shows that are now, because they released them out, making money out of it where somebody else is putting all the money to produce them, right, and create them. And now they're taking the bag, right, to save them, to keep the lights on, so to speak, right? Which is what they're hoping with the new Spider-Man Into the Multiverse Part 2 coming out this summer. Which more than likely, since it's a kid's movie, the first one did well, it'll give them more money to also give them time to help them keep the lights on, right? Right? No one's talking about this studio being closed down. Instead, I hear fools say, oh, that just means that Sony's only going to concentrate on AAA games. AAA games? What the... Are you serious? The term AAA game just means that they're big budget games that have more money behind them. That does not mean that they're going to be the creme de la creme or the best of the best, because you can have games with great quality, and if they don't have good substance or gameplay mechanics or fun factor, they're not going to matter. The story, the graphics are not going to matter because it's not going to keep the attention of a lot of people, and so they won't purchase the game or buy it or play through it. You see? So it doesn't matter. The fact and the idea that people in the gaming space have the audacity to say that a game is only valuable when it's a AAA and not a AA, single A, or an independent studio is the most ludicrous and absurd shit I've ever heard. But yet I remember when Hellblade was doing well on PlayStation 4, and it was only a PlayStation 4 exclusive at that time, everybody was, look how amazing these games are and the quality. And there was only 20 people that worked on Hellblade 1 because Ninja Theory was virtually at the verge of closing down. Because all the games they've done through the years that were fantastic, from Enslave So Heavenly Sword, Chaos, Kung Fu Chaos, all the stuff they did before that were fantastic, but never did well, right? Then when they brought it and shifted over to Microsoft, all of a sudden the game was trash. It was horrible, right? And then when Microsoft acquired them, because they had a relationship with Microsoft since their inception, Microsoft gave them their opportunity. And that's why they chose to go with Microsoft. All of a sudden, they're not worthy, right? All of a sudden, these people think that Hellblade 2 is not in reality, or Mara, the game they're making, the horror game. Project Mira, I think it's called. So, it's all different as soon as Microsoft is involved, right? Which is just ignorant and hypocritical. Because Microsoft is the only company with real money to sustain and take care of these developers long term. It's not Sony or Nintendo. Just like Nintendo, all this time, all they've been having is third-party releases and no real first-party, except for Legend of Zelda that's coming out, which seems to have more, the exact same world with the same assets, just with added boss fights, cutscenes, certain new characters, but still the playing field or the canvas is the same world. And nobody's worrying about it. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's downplaying it, right? Let's talk about how Jim Ryan, just 2 weeks ago, before this whole thing was blocked, was saying that without Call of Duty deals, right, they can't have enough funds to make AAA games. So they have to rely more on the multi-plat than their own first party just to make money. And you call this a healthy environment, a healthy company? Just like Yoshida just said a week ago. The PS5 may be selling, but the sales on the software and games is weak. That means they're not selling games, which is where they make the real money. Or on services, which their service doesn't have new subscribers. PS Plus is something that people just are not attracted to. There's not enough value there. Same company, like I said, just Concrete Genie developers closed down. Forspoken did horrible. It may not be their studio, it's for Square Enix, but the company or the developer Luminous, I believe, had to be migrated over to all the other developers within Square Enix and split off, and they closed down the studio itself. Which means now that even though it's a time exclusive, we probably won't even get that game. Because later on, because of the time exclusivity, was supposed to be for 2 years that Sony bought. And then just before that, Sony said in an article, we do not have no more first-party AAA games this year. Only Spider-Man. So they're telling you again, they have nothing else this year but Spider-Man. When Microsoft still hasn't released Starfield, they still haven't released Forza, they still haven't given a release date for Hellblade, which I believe all three will come out this year. I believe Hellblade is coming out this year. Or if not, the very latest, early next year, right? And yet people are playing the doom and gloom because Redfall has technical issues. Not because it's a bad game, but because it has technical issues. Which that's part of the territory. It happens. It happens. The same way people are skewing words with Phil after he makes himself accessible, saying that nobody cares about quality games. So they don't care about him, which is bullcrap. That's not what he said. Phil is talking about when Nintendo fans and Sony fans are conditioned the way they are to be in their ecosystem and already invested a bunch of money digitally on their ecosystem. Microsoft can make, Starfield tomorrow release, and it scores a perfect 10 out of 10, it's not going to make them migrate over to buy an Xbox and change their whole way of playing games and only be investing on Xbox. There might be a couple of hundreds that might buy an Xbox to play Starfield, but they're not going to stop playing on their preferred platform just because of one game doing well. Even if they had a couple of games, because they already invested. That's why he said they lost the worst generation of consoles that they could have lost. The generation that started heavy on digital front, because they said 74% of the digital market is digital right now, and it's probably up to 80% at this point. Nobody else has a digital library of 500 games, for example, is going to go on an Xbox to start from scratch. That makes perfect sense. So his goal is to reach people that are just starting or that have not invested on a particular console, whether it's Nintendo or Sony, and may get an Xbox or may get on the Xbox Game Pass to play on their tablet, on their PC, on their ecosystem. That's why he said we're not in the business to outsell consoles with Sony and Nintendo. Because he knows that when people go into the store, the perception is, buy a Nintendo, buy a PlayStation. Whether it's GameStop, whether it's Target, whether it's Best Buy. Because they're employers themselves. They push, get an Xbox. Get a PlayStation, get an Xbox, it's garbage. And they don't even know half the time the things that Xbox has to offer. Because I've seen it multiple times with my own eyes. Talking to people, and then I got to butt in, right? Because I see that they're lying to them, saying lies to them. Like, Xbox got no games. And I got to explain to the people, no, that's not true at all. And explain to them about Game Pass, explain to them about their exclusives, the difference between this, the difference between that. And then the employers look at me like, fuck you, you're an asshole with that face. No, fuck you, because you're being a fucking liar. You're the asshole. Because you're being a shill so that you can get a nice little fucking bonus, an incentive from Sony through your company in your paycheck at the end of the day or at the end of the month. That's what you're worried about. You're not worried about giving the consumers the right messaging, which is bullshit, because you're not supposed to try to sway a consumer to get something else if they're interested in something that they want already. That's not your place and your job to do that. You see? So anyway, the same way nobody was talking about how, Sony has invested in only gas as a fucking service type games. Supposedly they got like 20 studios working on 100 games, which that fucking number is retarded, or 25 games, whatever the case may be. Okay? Which that's not going to happen overnight. The success of things of Fortnite, Apex, it just doesn't happen overnight. There has to be some type of pedigree there, or some type of, familiarity that people will jump on it, right? Like they did with PUBG. That took a long time. That was big on PC for a long time. Way before it went on console, right? Same thing with Warframe, right? Same thing with, I don't know what else is, Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is not a gas game, but you can buy stuff through, purchases. And Sea of Thieves, that's a game that grew with time. And now it has like 30 million people playing it. They built it as they went. That doesn't happen overnight. And then the game has to be attractive enough to get that attention for people to want to play it. So the media needs to concentrate on all the negativity that's going on with Sony. From saying that the game's sales are weak, to they needing all the AAAs from other developers and multi-plats in order to cover their games that they have down the pipeline that are first party, because they can't afford it, or them closing down studios like the studio that did Concrete Genie, right? Or releasing PlayStation VR 2 for $600 almost, and the shit only sold 200,000 units. It fucking failed. No one's going to buy it until, again, like they did with the first one, when it's clearance stock Black Friday for $180. Then you'll see a bunch of people buy it to see how it is, just out of curiosity. And then they're going to skew the numbers and come out, whoa, PlayStation VR 2 has sold 600 million units to this day and make it seem like it's been selling the entire time and they've been making profit when that's not true. Those are diminished returns once you clearance them out at $180. That's diminished returns. That has no profit in their pocket. The same way Phil also said that console sales don't make money. They don't. You don't start seeing profits from console sales until the hardware that's in it goes down in price. And that's usually between 3 to 4 years in the life cycle. And at that point, the only money they're making really out of each console is still very minuscule. It's not even a big number. It's very small. It's still the hardware, software, really the software aspect that makes them the money. It's software. Software is what makes them money. If they don't have software sales, they're not going to make money. They don't have like services or cloud services. They're not going to make money like that. Or even selling stuff like, peripherals, controllers, things of that nature, right? These are the things that the media need to actually talk about. Because Sony, whether you want to believe it or not, is a dying company. They're doing whatever it takes and be as desperate as possible, mudslinging as much as possible, just so they can get their way. And then people think with the perception of, oh yeah, they're doing great, they're the best, when it's a bunch of horse shit. They're not. They have done nothing for the industry. They have not evolved gaming in any way, shape, or form since their existence. And all they did was mudsling their way into this space of gaming by buying over 250 developers. Flat out right, because they had more money than Sega and Nintendo, and they were able to do that at that time and didn't respect the pioneers of gaming. Not even Atari. Okay? So because nobody else is talking about it, I want to talk about it. That the media needs to concentrate on Sony, because there is bad management over there. Think about how many people they've had over there that have came and went. They had people like Jack Trenton stepped down. Andrew House stepped down. Adam Boyes stepped down. Andrew House stepped down. Even Yuhei Yoshida stepped down from his position and went to the independent position so that they can afford to pay him because of their, reconstruction, because they're not making enough money. Meanwhile, all this time that they've had all those leaderships, right? All those leaderships, there's been one on Xbox, which is Phil. Oh, always. And Phil has always proved that he's done a good job to make Xbox grow and move forward with everything they've been doing. Does everything work? No. But with all those things, or the little bit of things that don't work, all these other things do work. And that's why they're having success. That's why they're making themselves more appealing in the public eye and in general around the world. You see what I'm saying? Media is designed to make you want to hate certain things and like certain things and divide you in that way, so they can keep getting the views, clicks, and subscriptions, so people could keep paying their fucking rights or their building, or to keep their lights on and things, to pay their bills essentially. So they're not going to make positive Xbox news so that they can have only maybe a few hundred people or 1,000 come in and watch the video, and that's it. But when they do something like, oh, Microsoft is dying soon, if they don't get it right, if Starfield don't perfect it, it's over for them. They can make 100 million views on a video like that, but only make like maybe 2,000 views on a positive Xbox news like Hi-Fi Rush got great score and it's a great game and it deserves the praises it's getting. No, of course not. Or just to simply say a good topic to really criticize, for example, from Xbox, that makes more sense is say, Microsoft, you really need to make more physical copies of your first-party games so that you can have them accessible to the casuals that don't be involved on social media and that are not on the know, so that they can actually pick it up in the store. People that like collecting can pick it up in the store, and they can feel like they preserved their game with their money buying it physically. Why? Because if a game like Hi-Fi Rush did so well, there should be no excuse and the reason why it's not a physical release. The game deserves a physical release. So please make it happen. That is a valid, actual critique. A valid one. Or Microsoft, please, when you do video 4K recording on your external hard drive on the Xbox, can you please allow for voiceover while you're doing the recording? That way I don't have to go in within a computer and put in a voiceover application to voice over the video after it's done and have more process to do it. Just make it like the PlayStation 5, that it has it there and you can just talk while recording and it uploads all together while the time you're done on YouTube. And you eliminate like 5 steps when you do it the other way. That is an actual real critique. That is something that is valid or that I care about and that's worthy. But that's an actual critique. What you're doing out there, talking shit about a game, saying it's bad when it has only technical issues, not the game itself, is you're just being a clickbait artist. You want to make drama so people hate on Xbox and come to your channel and keep saying how much they praise you because you love PlayStation or Nintendo. Meanwhile, Xbox is dog shit. That's all you're doing. Okay? So, again, like I said, I'm going to say it because I've been in my mind, like the same way that all these people, like I said Phil said no quality games, when the reality of it is he's just saying the truth, that people won't change over to a new ecosystem after they invested so much and their money on the Sony ecosystem, for example, or Nintendo, just because they make one game that's great or that scores great, really. That's what he was talking about, the scoring metric. That's just not going to happen. That's unrealistic. And he's 100% right. A few may swim over and get it, and maybe once they play the console and see how good it really is and what it has to offer, they'll probably also say, "Oh, well, I'm gonna get an Xbox, and I'm gonna still play on my PlayStation, but I'm gonna play on my Xbox too because it's giving me more value and bang for my buck." For example, right? So, I think Sony is raising an eyebrow. You need to be concerned for them because all they're concentrating now is on movie, TV, not real gaming. They just confirmed they only have one big AAA for the year, which is Spider-Man. They just closed down Concrete Genie Studios. They were just saying they had no weak game sales. They just said that they needed Call of Duty in order to survive, and a bunch of other stuff. So, okay, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. So, that's what I want to point out. That we should be concerned because Sony hasn't even shown a release date for Spider-Man, which could be a red flag because that could be that they just don't have a release date yet. It might be delayed. But my gut's telling me more than likely they're going to show it at the PlayStation Live Direct they do, right? For E3 in June. That's what I think, because they know they don't have nothing. They're going to hold it off for then probably show us a new trailer for the Ronin or the last Ronin. Then they'll probably show a new trailer for the Project Eve game, which I forgot the new name. And they'll probably show a new trailer showing Silent Hill 2. And then brag about how it's all exclusive to their console, which is a shame. It shouldn't be that way. But it is, right? So again, like I said, Sony, get your act together. Jim Ryan, get your act together. You need new leadership over there. Your leadership sucks. All these people have left, from Sean Layden and Andrew House. I am very concerned because I purchased the PS5 as a PS5 purchaser. I'm very concerned in my investment. I see no games. I see nothing to look forward to other than Spider-Man 2, which has no release date, which is concerning me as well. And, you're closing down studios left and right. You're only concentrating on gas gains for the future, left and right. No more single-player experiences the way that you used to. Or if you are, you're downing down. Like I said, I need you to reassure me and give me some assertiveness that you guys are okay. Because as far as I can see from looking from outside in, you're not in a good place right now, Sony. You're in a bad place. And if it wasn't for the media sugarcoating stuff and putting a blanket over you to comfort you, you guys would be exposed long ago. But instead they want to talk about Xbox because they have nothing else better to do but to get clickbaits and views the negative way. Because Xbox is the hate box. And the hate box, when you get hate, baby, that means that you're doing something right. If you're doing something right, you're getting all that hate, you're winning. Microsoft is winning. Because no matter all the hate, I guarantee you by the time 2 months go by, Redfall will have been played and purchased by a plethora of people, made a plethora of money, and it's a success. And that's going to give Arcane even more incentive because they see the love and support from the community to fix the game and add whatever they said they were going to do and anything new added, whether story-based, multiplayer component-based, new characters, new weapons, new perks. They're going to work on it hard and make it better because that's what good, legendary developers do. They don't falter because of bad criticism. They put their chin up and they look forward and tackle the next thing and make it better and strive to do better. That's what good developers do. Okay? Not like Naughty Dog that's flopped and then they said already we're not making Uncharted 4 or a new one or now worrying about only TV and movies and still haven't done the multiplayer like I said for fucking PlayStation's Uncharted. Last of Us 2 and Last of Us 2 was a broken mess, just like Horizon when it came out was a broken mess with a bunch of glitching and people were posting it everywhere. Nobody talked about it and made a big deal out of it. Nobody. Even though they closed and parted ways, Ready at Dawn, people who did Beyond, GT Sport is not doing nothing. It has lackluster content, not even a crash mode on it. What else? They closed the team that was going to do Echo Wild, something Echo, the game, The Wild. They canceled that shit. They parted ways with the people who did The Order. They closed down the studio for Sony Japan with all those great little studios that made independent stuff. They closed down the studio who did Drive Club and Motorstorm. It's horrible. They're horrible. Since the PS4 generation till now, their management has been horrendous. Really horrendous. Open up my eyebrows. I need to know that my investment is safe. Right now, I feel like I wasted my money with a PS5. It's absolute garbage. And I can speak like that as a consumer, right? But it really doesn't matter how I got my PS5. It really doesn't matter how I obtained it. It's just the fact that I have a PS5, so I'm a consumer. I had a PS4, I'm a consumer, right? Even backwards compatibility, I didn't get. You want to charge me for. Even enhancements and boost modes, you want to charge me for. So what's the deal? Nah. Media, get the right company to talk about, which is Sony. They're the ones that are dying. And Nintendo, they're not falling too far behind because them motherfuckers release one game every 3 years and people are like, yes. And I like the Nintendo Switch. It has some really cool games. Just like I like the Wii and the Wii U that are exclusive and original. But let's, call it spades to spades. Spade to spades. Let's not beat around the bush. Nintendo don't release games frequently either. Then they'll release one, and since it's something that's familiar and that's been done a trillion times, it's obviously polished and it's quality, and it's not really pushing any boundaries. People want to act like it's the greatest game of all time. Of course, games are going to be easier to make when they don't push envelopes or boundaries with new technology or a new type of gameplay or peripherals or whatever the case may be. It's easy to do that. That's not hard. So, again, like I said, let's start talking about the real problem in this industry, which is Sony. They're the ones you need to be worried about. Facts. It's that simple. It's your boy Hebot signing off. I went in long-winded, but I just wanted to talk about a lot of things, get it off my chest. I hope you enjoy the video. Leave a thumbs up if you like, thumbs down if you didn't. Share with someone you think might like it. Thank you for all you that continue to keep coming and giving me support, because without you, my channel is nothing. As always, you can find me any social media platform. You can find all the descriptions and details down in the description below. From Twitter to Instagram, it doesn't matter. Even my Xbox Live and Nintendo Switch and PSN information. How about that? Let's start playing more games and stop playing Twitter, you Sony pony drones and you pony bots, or you medium malicious manipulators, right? That you like to just talk and play no games. No games. There's been plenty of games that came out. Let's start playing them. It's your boy Hebot signing off. Love you. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you in the next one.